Chapter 1. Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Susan stared at the red marriage certificate in her hand, momentarily dazed. She really got married? And to a stranger she had only met once. The marriage certificate still held a hint of warmth, with the name Ethan Jean written on it, and she knew nothing else. When is the wedding going to be? I'm a bit anxious. The stern-looking man stood beside Susan, gazing down at her intently. She pondered for a moment. How about 2 weeks from now? Give me a little time to prepare. Ethan slightly curled his lips, a hint of tenderness appearing in his deep, dark eyes. All right. You don't need to worry about anything for the wedding. Just be ready for me to pick you up on the day. Susan nodded with a faint smile. I live in City A at the Law family. I'm waiting for you to pick me up. His thin lips moved slightly, as if he wanted to say something more. But a phone call came in, and a Rolls-Royce stopped in front of him. Sorry, I have to leave for something. After receiving her understanding gaze, Ethan got in the car and left. His car gradually drove away, eventually shrinking into a black dot and disappearing from sight. Immediately after, 3 luxury cars of completely different styles stopped in front of Susan. The car doors opened, and 3 brothers with distinct personalities but similar looks got out. The eldest brother Romeo was the first to get out, striding over to Susan with long legs, casually pushing up his gold-rimmed glasses. Ange is running a fever. I'm busy taking care of her, so I couldn't come to get the marriage certificate as promised. Second brother Kevin followed closely behind, tall and elegant in a black trench coat. Haven't you always been unsure about who to choose among the 3 of us? It's just as well that you missed it. Let's talk about marriage next year. Third brother Gabriel with a bold and flamboyant personality. Let's not wait until next year. Let's postpone it for a few more years so she can think it over properly. Susan just shook her head, took out the marriage certificate from her bag, and smiled slightly. I won't choose between you 2 because I am already married. Upon hearing this, the 3 were stunned, a trace of astonishment crossing their eyes, and their first reaction in their hearts was disbelief. Romeo, narrowing his cold eyes slightly, with a furrowed brow, said, Susan, are you trying to scare us with this because we took care of Ange and cancelled your appointment? Kevin, the smile in his eyes instantly turned cold. Ange saved our lives in that car accident. That's why we take extra care of her. You know very well that the only person we like is you. As a young lady, can't you give her a break? Gabriel, tugging at his tie. A fierce look crossed his rebellious face. Everyone in a city knows that you are the one our 3 brothers like. Who else would dare to marry you besides us? Are they looking for death? Susan, when did you learn to forge a marriage certificate? Saying this, he snatched the marriage certificate, and immediately, there were several tearing sounds as the red booklet was ripped into pieces. With a casual flick, the scraps of paper fluttered down to the ground. Susan looked at him in disbelief, about to speak but forcing herself to hold back her emotions. Today is her wedding day. She can't lose her temper. And besides, it's just a marriage certificate. If it's lost, it can be replaced. So she calmly looked at the few people and said, tearing up the marriage certificate doesn't erase the marriage. In half a month, it will be my wedding. You are all welcome to attend. The 3 of them exchanged glances, clearly seeing the disbelief in each other's eyes. No wonder they are brothers. They all share the same thought, convinced that she is playing hard to get. Kevin stepped forward a few paces, his tone extremely cold. This kind of trick gets boring after a while. I wasn't playing. All right. You weren't playing. Is that good enough? Gabriel responded dismissively. You even lied about being married. I really want to see how you plan to explain this in 2 weeks. Romeo furrowed his brow, just about to speak when the phone rang urgently. After the call was connected, Angelica's weak sobs fell into the ears of several people. Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel, where have you 3 been? I feel so miserable. Hearing this, the expressions of the 3 instantly changed, their faces showing obvious panic. Romeo's tone instantly softened. Ange, I just went out to buy you your favorite porridge from that place. I'll be back to keep you company soon. Ange, don't be afraid. I'll be back soon. Ange, wait for me. As soon as the call ended, The three of them got into their cars one after another and started their engines to head home. No one remembered to take Susan back. She was completely left behind like this. The cold wind blew her hair, gradually blurring her eyes. Watching the three cars speed away, she curled her lips, feeling inexplicably lost. Even now, she couldn't understand how she and these three brothers ended up in this situation. At the age of 7, her parents died unexpectedly, and she was taken in by the Law family, who had been engaged to her since childhood. That day, she wore a princess dress. She was soft and sweet, and when she first appeared at the Law family's home, she caught the attention of all three brothers at once. The three brothers couldn't stop competing for her. Starting from the very first meeting, they argued about wanting her to be their wife. Law father and Law mother thought it was just childish affection, but the three brothers ended up competing for her from childhood to adulthood. They treated Susan like a treasure, holding her gently as if afraid she would break, and cherishing her as if afraid she would melt. Whenever a boy dared to approach her or send her love letters, the three of them would fight that person. As time went on, the few of them gradually grew up. The eldest brother became the heir of the family. The second brother became a globally renowned movie star, and the third brother became a gaming god adored by thousands. Their personalities were all different, yet they were united in their unwavering affection for Susan, with none willing to back down. The elders, feeling helpless, had no choice but to set a rule that Susan would choose someone to marry on her 22nd birthday. Today is her 22nd birthday. She arrived, but the three brothers who once vowed that they could not live without her all failed to show up. All because of a girl named Angelica. She is the daughter of the new maid in the Law family. Ever since moving into the Law house, she has been scheming, constantly thinking of ways to create encounters and win over the three brothers of the Law family, such as making cookies for them, reminding them to eat on time, running to deliver stomach medicine on rainy days, and so on. However, the three brothers, who had seen too many of these tricks, were not appreciative. They coldly said she was a green tea and avoided her just as they had rejected those girls before. Until that sudden car accident, Angelica unhesitatingly stood in front of the three of them. They were unharmed, but she was hit by the car and nearly lost her life. From that moment on, the brothers' attitudes underwent a complete transformation. Their hearts gradually leaned towards Angelica, even to the point of hurting her time and again for Angelica. When Angelica twisted her ankle, they hurriedly left, abandoning her alone on the mountain filled with snakes, insects, and ants. Angelica whined that she wanted to go to the amusement park, and they heartlessly left her with a high fever of 40 degrees to fulfill her wish first. Angelica and she fell into the water at the same time, and the three of them chose to save Angelica. Such things happened far too often, even today. On the day they were supposed to go and get their marriage certificate, they all stood her up. Once, 3 people said they would marry her or die without her, but none of them came. Over the years, the 3 brothers from the Law family have passionately loved her, and everyone in their circle knows it. Now that she has been abandoned by all 3 of them, if this gets out, it will only bring disgrace to the Susan family. To preserve her family's honor, Susan randomly found someone to marry. Now that the engagement is broken, she has no further ties with these 3 brothers. Chapter 2. Susan picked up the torn marriage certificate from the ground and took a cab back to the Law family. As soon as I walked through the door, I saw Romeo, Kevin, and Gabriel all gathered around Angelica's room. The 3 tall, long-legged men stood by the bed, instantly making the spacious room feel much more cramped. Susan watched them anxiously and worriedly taking care of Angelica, tugging at her lips. Once, this room originally belonged to her. It was the best room closest to the 3 of them. They put in a lot of effort to turn it into a dreamlike princess room. Whenever there was something delicious or fun, they would send it all to her. At that time, they lovingly said, "Susan is our most beloved little princess, so she naturally deserves the best of everything." She believed it. But ever since Angelica blocked the car accident for them, they used Angelica's poor health and need for care as an excuse to make her move to the guest room. From that moment on, Susan knew she was no longer the most beloved princess in their hearts. She forced a smile and returned to the guest room to rest. Early the next morning, The sound of fireworks downstairs was deafening. Woken up, Susan went downstairs, only to see the entire living room filled with beautifully wrapped gift boxes, while Angelica, dressed in a princess gown, was surrounded by 3 men, her face full of smiles. Romeo, with gentle eyes, handed over the keys to a sports car, saying, "Ange, congratulations on recovering from your cold. This is the car you mentioned before that you liked. I bought it for you." Kevin took out a peace charm. "I specifically went to Nanan Temple to ask for this. There were many people that day, and I even met a lot of fans, but I still managed to get it. It is said to be very effective." Gabriel then took out a trophy, grinning widely. "Look, I won the competition and immediately wanted to give it to you. Ange, if luck and peace could be transferred, I would gladly transfer them all to you. May you have peace and joy for the rest of your life." The 3 of them stuffed the gifts into Angelica's arms. She could hardly hold them all, overwhelmed with tears of joy. "Why are you all giving me gifts for such a small matter? You really value me too much. I don't even know how to respond." The smile on her face couldn't be contained. Suddenly seeing Susan coming down the stairs, she knowingly asked, "Miss, it was your birthday yesterday. What gifts did Romeo and the others give you? I'm so curious. Can you show me?" Susan instinctively clenched the hem of her clothes, remaining silent. At this moment, Romeo, Kevin, and Gabriel suddenly realized that yesterday was her 22nd birthday, and they had prepared nothing. Romeo stepped forward and handed her a black card, saying, "Yesterday Ange had a fever and forgot about this. We'll make it up to you next time. Just pick whatever you like." The other 2 also handed over their cards in succession. However, Susan showed no intention of accepting, refused and said no need. Gifts that have been missed are not necessary. Upon hearing this, the 3 of them looked somewhat surprised. They had all prepared to coax her, but her calm and indifferent demeanor left them at a loss. But then they remembered her lie about getting married yesterday and instantly understood that this was likely just her throwing a little tantrum. "Since you don't want it, then we won't redo it. Don't regret it later." As they spoke, the 3 of them carefully observed Susan's reaction, yet she remained calm, her expression saying, "Don't worry, I won't regret it." In the evening, Father-Mother returned from a business trip abroad. At the family banquet, Angelica Lou, as the daughter of a servant, was supposed to go to the kitchen to help Lou mother. Gabriel, however, grabbed her hand and pressed her shoulder to make her sit in the position next to him. "There are plenty of people in the kitchen, so you can relax and sit here with us to eat." Angelica was awkwardly wanting to stand up, but Romeo and Kevin both held her hand down, signaling her to sit. Seeing this scene, La's mother and father both had a somewhat unpleasant expression, their eyes clearly showing discontent, but they still said nothing. La's mother deliberately overlooked her 3 sons and looked at Susan with a gentle expression. "Susan, yesterday was your birthday. Who did you finally choose to marry? I've already picked out the venue for the wedding banquet. For such a joyous occasion, our family should celebrate it grandly, and we can't let you feel wronged." As soon as these words were spoken, the 3 brothers fell silent. The dining table was also enveloped in dead silence. At this moment, Romeo's deep, magnetic voice fell into everyone's ears. "Yesterday Ange had a fever, so I didn't go. I was busy taking care of Ange, so I didn't go either." Kevin's voice was lazy, not taking the matter to heart. Gabriel also chimed in, "I didn't have time to go either. Anyway, Susan hasn't chosen yet. Let's talk about the wedding later." The words of the 3 stirred up the anger of La's father and mother layer by layer. Just as they were about to erupt, Susan received a photo of a ring sent by Ethan. "Is this wedding ring okay? If you don't like it, I'll take you to pick another one." The ring in the photo was a heart-shaped pink diamond the size of a pigeon egg, with countless tiny diamonds adorning the side. Dazzling and spectacular. So beautiful. Beautiful enough to make any girl's heart flutter. Chapter 3. Susan smiled slightly and handed the mobile phone to Father-Mother. "Uncle, aunt. I'm already married. The wedding is set for half a month later. Look, this is the wedding ring the groom sent me, and I really like it." As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the entire room froze at that moment. For a moment, Everyone found it hard to believe. Law father, law mother were so shocked that they couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. After a long while, they finally stammered and asked, "Susan, is this real or fake?" Susan was just about to blurt out the words "really," when Romeo calmly interjected with a serious face, "Enough. It's one thing to joke around with us, but do you really have to make this kind of joke in front of Mom and Dad?" Kevin's usual smile instantly faded. "Susan, making this joke over and over again is just not funny anymore." Gabriel impatiently put down his chopsticks and said, "You've mentioned twice that you're married. But how is that possible? There's still a love letter in your drawer. It needs to be given to." Upon hearing this, Romeo and Kevin's expressions instantly changed, losing their composure as they nervously grabbed him and asked, "What love letter? Who is it for?" At that moment, Gabriel broke free from their hands, averted his gaze, and awkwardly said, "I haven't opened it to look, nor do I dare to. How would I know?" Susan let out a self-deprecating smile. She had indeed written a love letter before. Among these three people, there was indeed someone she had liked. Even before getting the marriage certificate yesterday, she had already made her choice. But now, there was no longer any need to say it. She tugged at her lips, just about to speak, when the previously silent Angelica suddenly exclaimed, "Miss, this ring of yours, you found the picture online, right? I've seen this diamond ring in a magazine. There's only one in the whole world, unique and priceless. What kind of person did you marry?" Susan was also stunned, her mind slightly dazed. She didn't expect this diamond ring to be so expensive. As for Ethan's identity, she wasn't clear and didn't know how to explain it. Just as she was about to speak, Lou's mother suddenly brought over a pot of hot soup, and after exchanging a glance with Angelica, she subtly nodded. Immediately, she pretended to lose her grip and spilled the entire pot of hot soup. "Be careful!" Romeo, Kevin, and Gabriel quickly shielded Angelica, fearing that even a drop of hot soup would scald her. Yet no one protected Susan. Ah! The scalding chicken soup spilled all over Susan, and she gasped sharply, her skin turning bright red from the burn, tears welling up in her eyes. Seeing the smugness in Lou's mother's eyes, Susan immediately reacted and trembled as she said, "Did you do this on purpose?" Upon hearing this, Lou's mother was first taken aback. Then tears fell as she said, "Miss Susan, what are you talking about? How could I do this on purpose? I know it's all my fault that you got burned, but you can't slander me like this." Seeing her mother humiliated, Angelica quickly stepped out of the encirclement of the three brothers, resolutely standing in front of Lou's mother, tears glistening in her eyes. "Miss, my mother and I may be poor, but we have dignity and pride. We will not allow you to insult us like this. Since you say that, then we will leave." She turned around, grasped Lou's mother's hand, and the mother and daughter walked out together. Watching the backs of the mother and daughter leave, Romeo looked at Susan with dissatisfaction and scolded, "Susan, Lou's aunt works tirelessly and only accidentally spilled the soup. Yet you say she did it on purpose. Can't you be a little less willful?" Kevin furrowed his brows in disappointment as he looked at her. "Aunt is so kind, and Aunt Lou has a personality just like hers. How could she possibly do something like that? Yeah, besides, even if Lou aunt did it on purpose, so what? It's just a little hot soup. Do you really have to drive someone away just to feel satisfied?" Gabriel shouted, full of disagreement. Hearing these words, Susan felt a surge of emotions gathering at the top of her head, and tears instantly welled up in her eyes. The three brothers, however, did not care about her feelings. They merely shot her a cold glance before rushing out the door to chase after Angelica. It wasn't until the three of them left that Susan finally became aware of the pain in her body. A large area of skin was burning, and she wanted to stand up. But the pain made her body sway, and she fell to the ground. Susan. Law father and law mother quickly helped her up and hurriedly called the driver to take her to the hospital. When she woke up, Susan opened her eyes and saw law father and law mother watching over her at the bedside. Seeing her awake, law mother wiped away her tears in excitement, tightly grasped Susan's hand, and quickly apologized. "Susan, we checked the surveillance, and Lou's mom did it on purpose. I knew those two had deep thoughts, but I didn't expect them to be this deep. Don't worry. I will definitely make those three give you an explanation and let them see Angelica's true colors. Good child. Don't say things like you've already gotten married. Susan just shook her head. Law aunt. This isn't just anger talking. I really am married. Then, she took out a bank card that she had prepared earlier and an emerald necklace, placing them in Law's mother's hand. Law aunt. This is the money I've saved over the years, and I consider it a repayment for all the expenses at the Law house over the years. This is the family heirloom you gave me from the Law family, which is said to be only for daughters-in-law. But now, it no longer belongs to me, so please take it back. Seeing these, Law father and Law mother finally realized she was serious. Law father asked repeatedly, Susan, are you really married? Don't lie to us. Each time, Susan nodded firmly. Yes, I really got married. Chapter 4. After a long silence, Law father and Law mother sighed repeatedly. It's our three sons who are out of luck. I'm sorry for you. As they spoke, they accepted the family heirloom but refused to take the bank card. Susan, listen to us. Keep this money close. It might come in handy in case something happens. She pushed the bank card over again, smiling reassuringly. Uncle Law, Aunt Law, if you don't take this money, I'll feel uneasy. My parents left me a lot of inheritance, but I've never touched it. Besides, having lived in the Law family for so many years, I've long considered you as my parents. In the future, I'll still be marrying out from my family. Law father, Law mother were extremely helpless and could only accept it. In the past 2 days in the hospital, the three brothers haven't even looked at Susan once. Law father, Law mother couldn't stand it any longer. From the household staff, they learned that the brothers had been coaxing Angelica, which made them even angrier. Susan, you wait in the hospital. We'll go call those little brats to take care of you. After all, you are their sister. Not even a glance? What is this? Law uncle, Law aunt. There's no need. Having you here with me is enough. She quickly called out to them, and seeing that she truly felt this way, they could only give up. When she returned home from the hospital, Susan received a call from Ethan. I designed a wedding dress, and it has already been sent to your home. The usually cold voice melted like ice and snow, revealing an unbreakable tenderness. Upon hearing this, she was somewhat surprised and instinctively blurted out, You can design wedding dresses? The man on the other end of the line chuckled softly. I know a little. I just want to give my lady the best and most heartfelt. Unknowingly, Susan's ears turned bright red. She randomly replied him a few times, not even knowing what he said afterward. Her mind a blank, yet a hint of warmth flashed through her heart. Upon returning home and opening the door, what caught the eye was a dazzling white wedding dress, its enormous train adorned with countless sparkling diamonds, as if starlight had fallen upon it. The only flaw is that this wedding dress is currently worn by the delicate and graceful Angelica. Angelica held up her skirt, twirled around, and playfully asked, Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel, how do I look? Does this wedding dress suit me? So beautiful, like a fairy descending to earth, more beautiful than many stars I've worked with. Ange, if you get married, you will definitely be the most beautiful bride in the world. The three of them praised her back and forth, and Angelica couldn't hide the smile on her face, feeling a bit shy from the compliments. Watching this scene, Susan felt her anger surging within her, burning her limbs and body with a fiery heat. She quickly walked towards Angelica and said sternly, Angelica, this is my wedding dress. Who gave you the right to sign for it and wear it without permission? Don't you know that taking something without asking is stealing? Hurry up and take off the wedding dress. Angelica shrank back in fear, her eyes filled with tears in a pitiful manner. I didn't know this was yours. I just thought it looked nice and wanted to try it on. I'm sorry, miss. I didn't mean to. Saying this, she made no move to take it off, and even lovingly touched the hem of the dress. Since you know you're in the wrong, why don't you hurry up and take it off? Susan struggled to suppress her anger, her fists unconsciously clenching tightly, but Angelica still fidgeted, tightly gripping the hem of the dress. unwillingly saying, "I've never worn such a beautiful wedding dress before. This is exactly how I imagined my dream wedding dress would look. Miss, since you're not getting married anyway, could you please give it to me? Are you deaf? I told you. I'm going to have a wedding soon. This is the wedding dress I'm giving you. What am I supposed to wear?" Angelica was taken aback, and before she could speak, her eyes turned red. Seeing her look of grievance, Kevin Gabriel felt a pang of heartache. Romeo looked at Susan and irritably pinched the bridge of his nose. "Enough. It's just a wedding dress. You're not really getting married. Buying a wedding dress to fool us is one thing, but now you're taking it too far? Yeah, aren't you just trying to make us jealous? I told you last time to stop with this trick, but you seem to be getting more addicted to it." Kevin was impatient. "It's just a prop for the play. Ange likes it, so I gave it to her. Where did you buy it? I'll pay you back." Saying this, Gabriel handed over a black card. Susan let out a deep breath, unable to reason, feeling utterly helpless. "I'll say this one last time. This is not a prop. I really am getting married, and this was designed by my husband himself. It holds great significance. Angelica must take it off and return it to me." The three brothers instantly flared up upon hearing the word husband from her. Just as they were about to speak, Angelica pulled at their clothes while crying, "Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel, please stop arguing over me. Can't I just take it off?" As soon as she finished speaking, she ran crying into the room. When she came out again, the wedding dress she was holding was already in tatters. "I'm sorry, miss. I accidentally tore it while taking it off just now." She looked at Susan with a timid expression, but there was a hint of pride in her eyes. Looking at the wedding dress that was clearly cut into shreds with scissors, Susan was almost fainting with anger. "You told me this was torn when you took it off. You clearly did it on purpose." "I really didn't. I'm sorry, miss. How much do I need to compensate you?" Angelica bit her lip, crying even harder. Susan was about to get angry, but Romeo pulled Angelica into his arms and said, "That's enough. How far are you going to act? Fine. Since you say this was designed by your husband, then call him and ask how much it costs. I will pay for it." Kevin and Gabriel also chimed in, "Yes. You should call your husband right now." The three brothers originally intended to make Susan stop this farce. Hearing her talk about marriage, wedding rings, and husbands every day, even knowing she was just putting on a show, they couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. They felt like they were going crazy. Now, the only way to completely expose her was to make her lose face. Only then would she stop joking about such matters. Who would have thought Susan would grit her teeth and force out a good? Then, in front of everyone, she dialed the number saved as husband. Chapter 5. Beep, beep. The sound of the call being dialed lasted for a long time, but no one answered. The hearts of the three brothers suddenly hung in the air, worried that Susan was serious. It wasn't until the phone failed to connect for a long time that Romeo let out a barely noticeable chuckle. "So, didn't we communicate in advance?" Kevin couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, his brows relaxing a bit. "I thought you could come up with something more elaborate than this. All right. We'll each give you 10 million. Consider it buying this wedding dress," Gabriel said casually, then turned to help Angelica wipe her tears. "Don't cry, Ange. I'll take you to buy clothes. I'll buy you whatever you want, even a wedding dress more beautiful than this one." After calming her down, he gently took Angelica to the car, and soon the other two followed. After they left, Susan's phone suddenly vibrated. Ethan sent a text message. "In a meeting. I'll call you back later. Is there an emergency?" She quickly typed a string of words to apologize. "No need. No need. You're busy. I just wanted to tell you. I'm sorry. The wedding dress was accidentally ruined by someone. I didn't protect it well." Soon, the other party replied, "No problem. I will have another one custom made and sent over." At that moment, Law's father and Law's mother returned home and saw the shredded wedding dress. Their faces instantly fell. After learning the whole story, his face turned even darker than a pot's bottom. Law's mother indignantly said, "Originally, I felt sorry for Lou Mom, a single mother, thinking it wasn't easy for them, so I let them live in my house to help out. Now it seems Both mother and daughter have questionable character. Butler, fire them. Just consider it venting for Susan. Saying this, she held Susan's hand and gently said, Susan, don't worry. With us here, you will never be wronged. Susan was somewhat touched. After softly thanking her, she hugged the wedding dress and went out. In any case, this is Ethan's method that he designed for her, and she must find every possible way to fix it. The butler was very efficient. By the time Susan returned, she found that Angelica and Lou's mother had already been ordered to leave the law house. She breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that she could finally enjoy a peaceful period before getting married. But upon entering the room, she discovered that the entire place had been turned upside down. It's obvious without thinking that this must be Angelica's doing. She could only vent her frustrations through such petty tricks. Just as she resigned herself to tidying up, a sudden sound of footsteps came from outside the door, and the three brothers burst in. Susan, can't you just let Ange be? It's just a wedding dress, and you've already been compensated. Why can't you let it go and insist on driving her away? Romeo gripped her wrist tightly and said sternly. Susan struggled to break free from the grip on her hand, her face showing impatience, no longer wanting to explain. Whatever you say goes. This statement ignited Kevin's anger. He frowned in disbelief and said, Is this your attitude? Aren't you going to apologize to Ange? What do I have to apologize for? She truly didn't understand. Gabriel, however, wore a cold expression, not giving her a chance to refuse, and pulled her outside. Come with me to apologize. At this moment, Susan finally couldn't hold back and exploded. She used all her strength to shake off his hand. Enough! There are 10 days left. In 10 days, I will be completely married and leave, and I will have no further ties with you. I beg you to endure these 10 days and not disturb me again. After finishing her words, she didn't know where the strength came from, but she pushed both Romeo and Kevin out. The door slammed shut with a heavy thud, and locked with a click. It instantly became quiet outside the door, with no further sounds. After a long while, Gabriel's arrogant voice came through. Susan, stop acting. We won't believe you. Susan leaned against the door, her body slowly sliding down weakly, feeling utterly exhausted. Whether they believed it or not, she was already married. It didn't matter anymore. Chapter 6. The next morning, the three brothers were not at home. Susan casually turned on the TV and saw Romeo's press conference interview. Mr. Law, may I ask what the significance of the latest jewelry named Ange is? Romeo was dressed in a well-tailored suit, holding a microphone, with a gentle smile blooming in his eyes. Ange is named after a very important person who came into my life and brought me immense joy. After a moment of silence, everyone reacted and the sound of screams filled the air. A reporter excitedly asked, May I ask, Mr. Law, what is your relationship with this girl named Ange? Is she your sweetheart? As far as I know, you currently don't have a girlfriend. Are you planning to use this jewelry to confess your feelings? Before he could give an answer, Susan indifferently pressed the remote control and changed the channel. At the Golden Rooster Awards ceremony, the host solemnly announced, the best actor of this Golden Rooster Awards is Kevin. Let us welcome him to the stage to accept the award and give his acceptance speech with applause. As soon as the words fell, thunderous applause erupted, with countless people expressing that this award was well-deserved. This is Kevin's second domestic film award, making him the youngest dual Golden Rooster Best Actor. He gracefully and calmly stepped onto the stage, a slight smile playing at the corners of his lips. I am very honored to receive this award. In addition to thanking the production team and my family, I would like to thank a special person here. Her name is Angelica, and she gave me a lot of strength and help during the filming process. I want to share this honor with her. In the next moment, amidst the crowd's screams, Kevin stepped off the stage, holding a fair hand as he returned to the stage. Seeing this, Susan did not hesitate to press the remote control again. At the finals of the esports competition, everyone held their breath in anticipation. In the end, the team that Gabriel was on won with an absolute advantage, becoming the champion team of this competition. As the captain, Gabriel led his teammates onto the stage to receive the award. At the moment he received the trophy, he smiled broadly at the camera, kissed the trophy, and his cheerful voice spread across the world through the screen. Angelica, did you see? I won this trophy for you. From now on, you won't be alone anymore. I will be here to love and protect you. Immediately, the mobile phone on the sofa vibrated slightly. She opened it and found a message from Angelica. Miss, did you see? After leaving the Law family, my mom and I are still doing well. I hope I didn't disappoint you. Then, she attached a few photos, all screenshots of the three brothers calling out her name. Susan coldly smiled and ignored it. Ding dong. Suddenly, someone rang the doorbell. She opened the door and found a young man in a suit standing outside. Good day, madam. I am Jean's assistant. You can call me Luis. Mr. Jean has arranged for me to take you to see the wedding house. May I ask if you are available now? Only then did she realize and hurriedly said, let Ethan decide. I'm fine with anything. The assistant shook his head and said solemnly, Madam, Mr. Jean has said that you are now the mistress of this house. The Jean family motto states that everything must listen to the mistress. Upon hearing this, Susan was stunned. She had been orphaned since childhood. Even though the Law family treated her well, she always felt that she was adrift and alone. This was the first time she would have a home of her own. Suddenly, her heart warmed, and she nodded in agreement. Chapter 7. After getting out of the car, the assistant brought Susan to full courtyard fragrance, standing in front of the largest and most luxurious villa, introducing it to her. Madam, this is the first villa that Mr. Jean selected for you. The environment here is tranquil and beautiful. After just a brief glance, she was astonished to find that the layout here was exactly the same as the home she had always dreamed of. She was very satisfied with this place. Just as she was about to settle on this place, Angelica's voice came over. Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel, this place is too big and too expensive. Wouldn't it be a bit extravagant to buy it for me? No way. You and Aunt Law need a place to settle down, and this is close to home, so we can take care of you anytime. Yeah, as long as we buy it for you. It won't be considered expensive at all. Ange, just agree to it. Your current rental is old and shabby. Do you want us to worry ourselves to death? Upon hearing this, Angelica curled her lips slightly. Her eyes filled with emotion. It's all my fault. If I hadn't angered the young lady, she wouldn't have complained to the gentleman and madam, and my mother and I wouldn't have been in such turmoil, which wouldn't have caused you to incur expenses. Hearing her mention Susan, Kevin's expression suddenly changed, his peach blossom eyes narrowing slightly. Don't worry. I will definitely seek justice for you and won't let you suffer in vain. As they spoke, the few of them walked in and just happened to see Susan. Gabriel furrowed his brow, his tone unfriendly. What are you doing here? She said calmly, I came here to look at the wedding house. Upon hearing this, the three paused, exchanged glances, and their hearts suddenly raced. But upon seeing the assistant beside her, they instantly relaxed. They thought she was just putting on a show again. And surprisingly, she had even learned to find someone to cooperate with her. This time, they did not scold her again. Instead, they chuckled lightly. All right, then we'll watch you buy. Susan was indifferent to their reactions. She was indeed quite satisfied with this place. So she nodded at the assistant. After the assistant swiped the card, he continued, Madam, let's go to other places to buy a few more houses. This place is too close to your family home, and I'm worried you might feel uncomfortable. Hearing this, Gabriel's face instantly darkened. How can you speak like that? Susan, is this the person you hired? He questioned, then disdainfully looked at assistant. How much did she give you? I'll give you double if you tell me the truth. The assistant said quietly, You misunderstood. I'm not a hired person. I'm Jean's assistant. Romeo furrowed his brow. Jean. This surname sounds very familiar. Susan didn't want to continue entangling with them, so she turned to leave. Romeo quickly grabbed her hand and said, This wedding house is worth over $1 billion. Are you overacting? Stop the performance. She pushed him away without hesitation, coldly sneering, Whether I perform or not, you'll find out when you attend the wedding. After saying that, she followed the assistant into the car and left. After going through several places, She bought several sets of houses. When she returned home, she saw an invitation and a catalog from the auction on the table. Susan was not interested and was about to throw it away when she unexpectedly saw that on the last page of the catalog, there were actually her parents' belongings. Her heart trembled, and she quickly picked up the invitation, changed into a formal dress, and was ready to go. But once she arrived at the auction, she regretted it, only because at the auction Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel were all present, and not only that, they also brought Angelica. Surrounded by the three, she smiled brightly, enjoying their care. Ange, just boldly raise your card for whatever you like. We'll cover the cost. No need to worry, as long as you like it. That's all that matters. Kevin gazed gently at the girl beside him, and the other two also expressed their agreement. Susan gradually withdrew her gaze and focused her attention on the auction items. Chapter 8. The auctioneer presented item after item, and at first, Angelica was a bit cautious, not daring to raise her paddle. Later on, as long as she glanced at something a few more times and showed interest, it was all snapped up by them. Many people were drawn in by this extravagant spending, casting envious glances. The three big shots from the Law family are really good to Angelica. I wish I were Angelica. I used to think they liked Susan so much that she would really marry one of the three brothers. Yeah, who would have thought it would turn out like this? Not loving the young lady, but favoring the maid's daughter. Susan's face. Oh, it's all gone to waste. Feeling the sympathetic gazes of others, Susan remained completely indifferent. She silently counted the lots, waiting for the last item to appear. Finally, the auctioneer carefully presented a bracelet, earnestly introducing its historical year. Susan could no longer sit still, gripping the auction paddle in her hand, waiting for the bidding to start. That bracelet was a token of love that Dad had given to Mom long ago. No matter what, she had to win it at the auction. The starting bid is 30 million, and the auction begins now. 40 million, 50 million, 60 million. Many people raised their paddles to bid, and as the price kept rising, quite a few gave up, leaving only Susan and a few others still in the game. She kept bidding, and seeing how much she cared about this bracelet, Angelica rolled her eyes and began to act cute to the person next to her. This bracelet is really beautiful. I wonder if it would look good on me. Immediately, the three of them began to compete, saying, I'll help you buy it. Immediately after, the three brothers also joined the competition. 100 million, 150 million, 200 million. Seeing this, Susan's heart sank infinitely. They clearly knew what this bracelet meant to her. At that time, when her parents' token of love was lost, she was inconsolably sad. The three of them, upon learning of this, hurriedly sketched the style of the bracelet, vying to cheer her up. Susan, please don't be sad, okay? We'll look for it together, and one day we will find it. No matter what it takes, we will return it to its rightful owner. However, the promise made back then has now become a joke. As the price kept rising, it reached an unimaginable sky-high price of $1.5 billion. Susan glanced at her savings, realizing it was no longer enough. If she forced herself to bid, she would not only spend all the inheritance her parents left her but would also have to borrow money. As she hesitated, Romeo made a gesture of releasing sky lanterns, causing an instant uproar in the crowd. This signified that no matter how high the bidding for the bracelet went, he would bid until he won it. At that moment, her heart was completely filled with despair. She couldn't win it. When the bracelet was handed to Angelica, she looked at Romeo, her eyes filled with affection. Romeo, you bid for this for me, so will you help me put it on? At this moment, Kevin and Gabriel both expressed their dissatisfaction. Ange, I also have money. If he hadn't gotten to it first, I could have bought it for you too. Eldest brother, I'll give you the money for the bracelet. Can you let me have the chance to help Ange get the bracelet? Saying this, Kevin extended his card. Gabriel also followed suit, trying to shove his card into Romeo's hands. I also have money. Eldest brother, why not let me have it instead? While a few people were helping Angelica with the bracelet, Angelica pretended to lose her grip. causing the bracelet to fall to the ground with a crisp sound, shattering into pieces. At this moment, Susan's heart also shattered. Oh no, I accidentally broke it. Chapter 9. Susan clearly knew Angelica was doing it on purpose, but she felt powerless, only because this was the lantern that Romeo lit for Angelica. It belongs to her. Her eyes were red, and in a frenzy, she pushed through the crowd, squatting down to cherish and pick up all the pieces of the bracelet. Looking at Angelica, these pieces are meaningless for you to keep. I can buy them with money. Upon hearing this, Angelica refused without hesitation. Miss, I'm really sorry, but I like this bracelet very much. So even if it's just fragments, I want to take them with me. Thank you for helping me pick them up. Saying this, she took all the fragments from Susan and, protected by the three brothers, turned to leave. Though she said that, as she walked out of the auction venue, she casually tossed the bracelet fragments into the pool outside. The pool wasn't deep, only reaching her calves, but the bottom was decorated with countless pebbles, and the bracelet fragments fell in, almost disappearing from sight. However, Susan did not hesitate at all and quickly jumped into the pool, the heavy rain washing away her vision, making it even more difficult. Not knowing how long she searched, her waist ached to the point of numbness, her whole body completely chilled. She finally managed to gather the pieces of the bracelet. When she got home, she was dripping wet all over. Seeing her in such a sorry state, Kevin frowned and said, "What have you been doing to get yourself into this mess?" Susan, with red-rimmed eyes, couldn't stop the tears from rolling down her cheeks, her body trembling uncontrollably as she hoarsely said, "Go find the bracelet that your beloved shattered and threw away. My parents' relic." Parents' relic? Romeo instinctively repeated, and the three brothers were stunned. This was the first time they had seen her cry. For a moment, all three were flustered. Romeo softened his tone instantly. "Sorry, Susan, it was my mistake. I forgot that was your parents' relic. I also didn't think of it at the time. Otherwise I would have definitely taken a picture for you," Kevin also hurriedly said. Gabriel quickly brought her a towel, helping her dry her dripping hair. "Susan, I'm sorry. Go take a shower. Don't catch a cold and get sick. Also, I've said it many times, Ange is not our beloved. We don't like her. Our hearts only have you. Only her in our hearts. Only she would make them wait for a whole day and night in the cold wind at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Only she would unhesitatingly protect Angelica when hot soup is splashed. Ignoring her? Only she would indulge Angelica in recklessly tearing her wedding dress and smashing her bracelet? The three of them only have her in their hearts. That sounds like a huge joke. All of Susan's sadness and helplessness were washed away by the heavy rain. So at that moment, she said nothing, coldly pushed their hands away, and walked straight to her room, slamming the door shut with a bang. After locking the door, she hadn't tidied up yet, but sat down, looking at her parents' photos on the table, trying hard to piece the bracelet back together, yet ultimately feeling powerless. Broken is broken. It can never return to the way it was. The next day, she opened the door with swollen eyes, but she saw her three brothers standing outside the door, hesitating and waiting. As she came out, they all handed her several boxes of bracelets. "Susan, these are similar bracelets we ran all over the city to find for you. Please don't be sad, okay?" Susan didn't give them a glance at all. "No need. Those are not my parents' belongings, and this is my own matter, so I won't trouble you young masters." Seeing her so cold, the three of them suddenly panicked. Romeo helplessly sighed. "Susan, do you really have to become so distant with us? You know how we feel about you, don't you?" Kevin and Gabriel both spoke in unison. "I know you've been really concerned about Angelica lately, but Angelica saved us. She is our lifesaver. We treat her well to repay her kindness. But you are different. You are the one we truly like." "Truly like?" Susan nearly laughed to tears upon hearing this again. She laughed out loud. "Then there's no need for the three young masters' affection, because I am already married." Seeing her still joking about marriage, the three brothers' faces instantly darkened, and just as they were about to speak, Angelica suddenly called, "Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel, I just accidentally fell while changing the light bulb. It hurts so much. At this moment, the three of them were suddenly alarmed, hung up the phone, and looked at Susan. Susan, don't joke about marriage anymore. If you're still not satisfied with this, we can look for something else later. As soon as the words fell, the three of them rushed out one after another. Chapter 10. For 3 consecutive days, the three brothers did not come back. However, Angelica's messages did not stop. In the photo, Romeo gently applied medicine to her. Kevin held a bouquet of flowers and placed it in a vase, while Gabriel was holding a plate of fruit and feeding it to her. Miss, look, I just twisted my ankle a bit, and they care so much, taking such good care of me. I don't even know how to repay them. Susan glanced at it, pretending not to see. She was busy sorting out everything related to them over the years. The veil they draped over her head when she played house as a child. The white gown, crystal shoes, and diamond crown they gifted her at her coming-of-age ceremony. And also the love letter that was never sent, tucked away in the drawer. Everything, all of it, was thrown into the fire pit, gradually consumed after being set ablaze. As she watched the things in the fire pit dwindle, the flames growing stronger, Susan felt that everything from the past had completely vanished. The three brothers returned just in time to witness the scene, their hearts seemingly stopping. Susan, what are you doing? Gabriel shouted in panic, quickly looking for water to extinguish the fire. Romeo and Kevin also hurriedly searched for anything nearby that could help put out the flames. However, Susan just quietly watched. Since the fire burned so quickly, even when it was finally extinguished, nothing could be salvaged. Only a pot of ashes and some remnants are left. Kevin looked at her in disbelief. Susan, why on earth did you burn these things? I told you, I'm getting married, and my husband might misunderstand if he sees these, so I just burned them all. Seeing her so indifferent, the three of them were in a panic, almost thinking she was serious, but then they thought again and quickly told themselves, it's impossible, she would never get married. Romeo's eyes were dark, his brows slightly furrowed. Susan, this is enough of a tantrum. It's no fun if it goes on any longer. Susan just calmly looked at them and coldly said, tomorrow at 12 o'clock. You are cordially invited, Romeo, Kevin, and Gabriel, to attend the ceremony. The next day, Susan changed into her wedding dress, preparing to get married. Law father and Law mother sat beside her, watching her in her wedding dress. Law mother wiped away her tears sadly, saying, Susan, if you're not doing well over there, make sure to come back and let us support you. She nodded, smiling as she held Law's mother's hand. At that moment, a sound of footsteps came from upstairs. Looking in the direction of the sound, I realized it was Romeo, Kevin, and Gabriel. Seeing that they were about to leave, Law's mother hurriedly called out to them. Stop! Today is Susan's wedding. What are you planning to do? Romeo, upon seeing Susan in her wedding dress, couldn't help but show a hint of amazement in his cold eyes. But he feigned indifference. Dad, Mom, it's one thing for Susan to throw a tantrum, but how can you really believe her words? What do you mean by throwing a tantrum? Susan really is getting married. Can't you see that? Law's father said angrily, glaring at them. Kevin, with a calm expression, said, I saw it. I saw her throwing a tantrum and putting on a show for us again. Gabriel looked completely unconcerned, with great interest, hands in his pockets. Susan, since you want to play so much, let's play along and see if anyone actually comes to pick you up later. And also check how well your actors are doing. Time passed second by second, and as the minute hand reached 12 o'clock, no one had arrived. Gabriel let out a sigh of relief, his brows relaxing as he mocked. Weren't you acting quite well before? How come this time you even forgot to find actors? Kevin also let out a sigh of relief. That's enough. We've made a fuss for long enough. Susan, hurry up and take off the wedding dress. No need to keep pretending. Romeo looked at her with deep-set eyes. You causing this scene is just because you're upset that we canceled your appointment at the Civil Affairs Bureau half a month ago? Let's go now. The three of us. You pick one. Susan furrowed her brows. just about to speak when Angelica's phone suddenly rang. She was crying on the other end. Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel, my mom had a car accident. What should I do? My mom is my only support. If I don't have her, I don't want to live anymore. Boo-hoo. Hearing this, the expressions of the three suddenly changed. Don't rush. We'll be there soon. Saying this, they quickly walked out the door. Law mother sternly called out to them, everyone stop. No one is allowed to go find Angelica. Today is Susan's wedding. If you're not here, you will definitely regret it. The three exchanged glances, their eyes full of impatience. Susan is ours. Who dares to marry her? Mom and Dad, stop acting with her. Once we handle Ang's matter, we will go marry Susan. Before the words were finished, the three of them walked out one after another, watching their departing figures. Law father, law mother angrily smashed the teacup in her hand. They will regret it. They will definitely regret it. Just as the three cars sped away, a honking sound suddenly came from outside the door. Susan hurriedly ran outside and saw a whole row of luxury cars parked in front of the Law family's door. The bodyguards all got out of the cars, and countless hands holding flower petals were opened, scattering petals all over the sky. The assistant was the first to get out of the car and respectfully opened the car door. Madam, I apologize for being late due to traffic. Please. It's okay. Susan smiled understandingly, then turned around with red eyes to look at Law father, Law mother, Law uncle, Law aunt. Susan is getting married. Law father, Law mother also had red eyes, reaching out to hold her. Hey, child, you must be happy. I will. Law uncle, Law aunt, she will definitely be happy. Susan gave the elderly couple a hug, and with one last glance at this place she had lived for over a decade, she lifted the layers of her wedding dress and got into the car, heading towards her brand new life. Chapter 11. In the car, Ethan's deep eyes held a faint smile, showing no concern for his image as he bent down to adjust Susan's skirt. He sincerely complimented, "It's beautiful, far more beautiful than the image I had in mind when I designed it." Susan instinctively lowered her head to glance at her skirt, but instead saw his sharply defined profile, with his prominent brow bone and three-dimensional features complementing each other. The moment he looked up at her, she felt her heart skip a beat. Thank you. You look very handsome today as well." After saying this dry compliment, she instantly felt embarrassed and her face turned red. Ethan only chuckled lightly. "Being praised by the madam is my honor." The deep and elegant voice fell into her ears, sending a shiver down her spine and making her heart race. Susan unconsciously looked out the window, trying to calm her flustered emotions. The scenery outside the window changed rapidly, and before long, they stopped at a manor. The entire manor was decorated in a romantic and beautiful pink, looking extremely dreamy, accompanied by the melodious wedding march. Ethan stepped out of the car first, his bony palm open in front of Susan, warm and reassuring. She placed her hand in his palm with complete trust, relinquishing control to him as he led her forward. The guests attending were not particularly numerous, but almost everyone exuded an extraordinary presence. Many of the people present were prominent figures rarely seen even on television. Yet here they seemed somewhat ordinary. Everyone's gaze towards Susan was filled with warm admiration, genuinely wishing them well on their wedding. As the wedding proceeded steadily, she felt her mind go blank, as if she were still dreaming, only able to follow Ethan step by step. The moment they successfully exchanged rings, her heart instantly settled down. This wasn't a dream. She had really married someone else. Jean father and Jean mother stood lovingly side by side, quietly watching, their expressions filled with tenderness. Amidst the blessings of everyone, Ethan held Susan tightly, supporting the back of her head, and placed a gentle kiss on the corner of her lips. Meanwhile, in the hospital, the three brothers instinctively pressed their hands against their chests, exchanging glances that conveyed a profound sense of having lost something very important in that moment. "Susan!" Three voices shouted in unison, their hearts filled with uncontrollable panic. Gabriel couldn't sit still and instinctively wanted to get up and leave. At that moment, the tearful Angelica grabbed his hand and choked out a question. "Gabriel, are you very anxious? Can you stay with me a little longer?" Gabriel was somewhat troubled, his expression extremely conflicted, but the sense of urgency in his heart constantly urged him to leave quickly. He couldn't believe that if he didn't leave now, he might really regret it for the rest of his life. So, after a moment of hesitation, he pushed away Angelica's hand and comforted her, saying, "Ange, you still have eldest brother and second brother here with you, and Aunt Lou isn't in any serious trouble. I have an urgent matter to attend to. I must leave now. I'm sorry." As soon as he finished speaking, he ran out of the hospital as fast as he could. "Gabriel!" Angelica called out to his back, trying to make him stay, but it was to no avail. She turned around in disappointment, just as she was about to seek comfort from Romeo and Kevin, only to see that they were also getting up to leave. "Ange, Aunt Lou has a caregiver and is out of danger now. We have things to do, so we won't stay here any longer." Romeo didn't give her a chance to refuse, leaving her side with a serious expression. Kevin also wore an anxious look on his face, reflecting the same refusal. "Ange, I have things to do too. Sorry. I'll come back to keep you company later." Chapter 12. Angelica felt a surge of resentment in her heart, but she only bit her lip, forcing a relaxed smile on her pale face. "I'm fine. It's okay if no one is here with me. I can manage on my own. If you are busy, you can leave first. Don't delay things. I'm just a little scared." However, this time even the most observant Kevin didn't notice her desire for them to stay. Instead, he let out a sigh, saying, "As long as you understand, that's good. We'll leave now." After saying that, he strode away, but Romeo couldn't even see his back. Seeing the three of them leave, Angelica stamped her foot in frustration but felt powerless. Back in the hospital room, when the mother of Lou saw that only she had come in, she looked towards the door several times. "Mom, stop looking. They all have things to do and have left." Angelica sat on the edge of the bed, feeling powerless. Lou looked at Angelica with disappointment, saying, "Didn't we agree that we had to keep those three brothers here today? Who knows if Susan is really getting married or just pretending?" Angelica glanced at the time. It was already 4 in the afternoon, and she instantly felt relieved. "Mom, don't worry. Whether she's really getting married or just pretending, it's already too late now. Even if it's a real marriage, they won't make it in time. If it's a fake marriage, being toyed with like this will eventually lead to a breakup. At that point, won't it be up to me to choose among the three? So don't worry." Hearing this, Lou's mother finally felt relieved and simply said, "That's true." Afterwards, she glanced at the injuries on her body and felt it was all worth it. The three brothers had just returned home and were instantly stunned to see the empty house. On the cobblestone path at the entrance, there were still many fragrant petals scattered about. It inexplicably gave people a sense of festive cheer and liveliness. Romeo's heart suddenly skipped a beat, and his face instantly darkened. "Susan." After rushing into the house, he completely lost his usual calm demeanor and searched everywhere for Susan's figure. The other two were no less so. Gabriel, with red eyes, had almost turned the entire house upside down, shouting hoarsely, "Susan, don't joke with me. Isn't it just about getting married? Let's go get our ID cards and get the certificate now. Let's go. We won't wait." Kevin had his usual smile on his face, but his eyes were extremely cold as he stood in front of his parents, incredulously asking, "Mom and Dad, where's Susan? Are you hiding her to make us regret it? This kind of joke isn't funny at all. Mom and Dad, you shouldn't indulge Susan in her antics. Has she decided who to marry? It's time to give an answer, isn't it?" He laughed at himself deceitfully. Law father and law mother couldn't believe that their 3 sons would be so persistent. With a loud slap, Law father struck Kevin across the face. "Fool!" A face so precious it was priceless, was ruthlessly swollen from the slap. If his fans saw this, they would surely be heartbroken. Kevin, however, seemed unaffected, casually wiping away the blood that had dripped from the corner of his lips. "Dad, you've already hit me. Can you tell me where Susan is now?" As soon as the words left his mouth, Romeo and Gabriel found themselves standing behind him, waiting for their parents' answer. Law let out a cold laugh and threw the mobile phone at their faces. "Ha, Aren't you curious about where Susan went? Why don't you go see for yourselves? Chapter 13. The three brothers quickly caught the mobile phone, and the photo of the wedding scene flashed on the screen, deeply piercing their eyes. That was a photo from Susan's wedding, with no signs of Photoshop. It was real. A man with an appearance that was in no way inferior to the three of them held her tightly in his arms, the pure white veil covering both of their heads, subtly obscuring the view of others. Yet it was still clear that he kissed her. The smile in Susan's eyes was definitely heartfelt, because they understood her the best. But it seems that she hasn't smiled like that for a long time. Romeo, holding the mobile phone, felt his large hand tighten repeatedly, the pressure around him reaching its peak, his fingers almost crushing the phone. Mom and Dad, you're lying to us, right? Where did you find this actor? Susan, she really knows how to go all out. He almost squeezed the sentence out from deep within his throat. Kevin was in disbelief, unable to control the expression on his face, and he murmured with a trembling voice, "Impossible. Susan loves us the most. How could she marry someone else? It's fake. It must be fake." Not just the two of them. Gabriel also couldn't believe it. His usually proud face was now filled with brokenness and helplessness. "I can't believe Susan really got married. I have to go find her." Saying this, he rushed out of the house again, unstoppable. Immediately after, Romeo and Kevin also went out again. Night quietly fell, and the lights began to shine. Their memories were quite good. Just a glance was enough for them to remember the background features in the photo. The three brothers split up, searching throughout City A for a manor that matched the one in the photo. No, none of these are it. The three of them didn't know how long they had been searching, as they noticed the number of pedestrians on the street dwindling and having run into each other several times. They still hadn't found the manor from the photo. In the end, they gathered together again, their eyes filled with the same exhaustion. Romeo called Law's mother. "Mom, do you know where Susan is having her wedding?" As soon as the question was asked, Law's mother coldly replied, "I don't know." After the call ended, there was still nothing to be gained, but it was clear that Susan was serious this time. Until now, the housekeeper still hadn't come to tell them that she had gone home. Chapter 14. The three brothers could only wander aimlessly through the streets. It was unclear who took the wrong turn, heading down a secluded but picturesque path. After an unknown amount of time, the view suddenly opened up before them. They searched for the manor for half a day, and it just appeared before them. Even at night, the Rose Manor still possesses a unique beauty. From the entrance of the manor, one can see the wedding decorations that have yet to be taken down. At that moment, just as Gabriel was about to drive in to take a look, several tall and strong patrolmen walked over. "Sir, this is a private manor. Unauthorized persons are not allowed to enter." Gabriel has never cared about such things. He only knew that there was no place he wanted to enter that he couldn't. Just as he was about to slam on the gas and rush in, Kevin got out of the car and stopped him. "May I ask who the owner of this manor is? Is it convenient to talk to him? I would like to go in and find someone." The patrolling security guard frowned and glanced at them, as if to say, "If you can find your way here, how could you not know who the owner of the manor is?" But they still responded normally. "Our manor's owner is surnamed Jean. We do not receive outsiders here, and this is not the place for you to find someone. Please leave." As they spoke, they also made a gesture inviting them to leave. "Jean." Romeo's expression darkened, and he asked back, inexplicably recalling what the assistant had said before when Susan was buying a wedding house. About that Jean in charge. Such a coincidence made him doubt. In an instant, all three of them recalled this point. Previously Romeo only felt a bit familiar, but recently, he was about to discuss a collaboration, and the rumored Jean was precisely the key figure in this cooperation. Unknowingly, he connected the two. Strangely, his heart suddenly skipped a beat, as if he had touched upon a crucial point. This manor looked quite extraordinary. Holding a wedding here certainly couldn't be just a show for money. Even considering their identities, they had no idea that in City A, a place where every inch of land is precious, there was such a manor. Not to mention Susan, she wasn't lying. In the past, They always took her words as jokes. But if they were all true, then, did she really get married today? Did she really get married half a month ago? After realizing this, the three brothers' faces turned very grim, unable to accept it in their hearts. Since childhood, they never thought that Susan would one day marry someone else. Not to mention it was a stranger they hadn't even met. Why? The three of them questioned in confusion. What exactly did they do wrong that made her choose someone else? After a long silence, no one could figure out the answer. The wedding had long since ended. Tonight is Susan and that Mr. Jin's wedding night. What will happen between them? I hardly dare to think deeply about it. Romeo turned around without hesitation, his handsome face taut, almost devoid of expression, but from the speed of his car, it was clear that his mood was quite bad. Kevin and Gabriel quickly followed suit. They all had the same destination. That is Full Courtyard Fragrance. On the way, the three of them didn't know how many red lights they had run, but they finally arrived at Full Courtyard Fragrance. The moon hung high in the sky, and the three brothers stood outside the villa, watching the lights brightly shining inside. Yet they lacked the courage to go up and ring the doorbell. The curtains in the master bedroom upstairs were drawn, yet the light could be seen seeping through. The lights remained on all night, and the birds in the trees were startled away by the ambiguous sounds faintly emanating from the room. What happened inside is self-evident. At this moment, they clearly should have rushed up to stop Susan. But they had neither the qualifications nor the reasons to do so. After all, they are merely her nominal brothers now, and they aren't even on the same household registration. They can at most be considered the brothers from the neighboring house. But the man in the villa is her legitimate husband. The marriage certificate that was torn that day became a huge joke. Kevin bitterly smiled and said, "It turns out Susan had already told us the answer. It was our stubbornness that made us not believe it. We were the ones deceiving ourselves." Romeo stared silently in the direction of the master bedroom, motionless, almost like a statue. Gabriel felt a surge of jealousy, anger rising within him. His temper was never good, so he directly rushed up to ring the doorbell, then turned back, his eyes bloodshot, and shouted at his two brothers, "Romeo, Kevin, I'm not like you guys. I'm a coward. Susan is ours. She always has been, and no one can take her away from us." I knocked on the door, rang the doorbell, even knocked several times and kicked a few times. Yet no one came to open the door. His efforts seemed particularly ridiculous. However, they stood outside the villa all night, the villa's door still tightly closed. Chapter 15. Until the next morning, the villa door opened. Ethan was wearing a loose bathrobe, the collar slightly open, with obvious kiss marks and scratches on his strong chest and collarbone. "What? Is there something?" He lazily leaned against the doorframe, his eyes, hidden beneath disheveled hair, exuding indifference, completely disregarding the three people outside the door. The satisfaction on his face deeply stung the eyes of the three. Gabriel gritted his teeth and threw a punch directly at Ethan's face. However, this punch was effortlessly caught by his hand, almost without any effort. "Is that all you've got?" Ethan's eyes darkened as he directly dislocated Gabriel's hand, not caring at all how precious that hand was. Romeo held Gabriel, and quietly advised, "Don't act impulsively." Then he coldly said, trying to calm himself, "Jean, Susan marrying you was just a momentary impulse. Please return her to us. For someone like you, what kind of woman can't you find? But we cannot be without Susan." Heh. Ethan let out a scoff, his presence exuding an overwhelming pressure. Yet he made a move that took everyone by surprise. He kissed the ring on his unnamed finger and said solemnly, "Jean family, one marries or weds only one person in a lifetime, and will never behave inappropriately towards anyone else. Susan has grown up, and when she chose to marry me, she was clear-headed enough. I need her, and she needs me just the same. Moreover, you don't have to have her, do you?" Saying this, he looked with great interest at the three behind him. Kevin turned around, only to see Angelica, pale as a sheet and swaying unsteadily. "Kevin, Romeo, Gabriel, am I interrupting you?" I just saw your car parked over here and was a bit worried about you, so I came over." "Susan, She really got married? Angelica suppressed the instinctive upward curve of her lips, but the moment she saw Ethan's face, she couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. Why was it that Susan was abandoned yet could still find such an excellent man? Noticing Ethan's threatening gaze, she quickly withdrew her stunning gaze and looked at the three brothers with tearful eyes. Aunt Lou is still in the hospital, right? You should go take care of her. We can handle things here. Kevin comforted her with a few words, then withdrew his gaze, still fixated on Ethan. Of course, we can't do without Susan. We don't like Ange. We only feel gratitude and pity for her. As for who to marry for a lifetime, we know in our hearts. As soon as these words were spoken, Angelica's expression became even more unpleasant. She never expected that after all her efforts, she would still be dismissed with just a word of gratitude in their eyes. You have to know, what she wanted was far more than this. How can a few instances of help compare to a lifetime of care? She doesn't want to give up on any of the three men. She wants to have them all. Of course, if there's one more, that wouldn't be a problem either. Thinking of this, Angelica discreetly glanced at Ethan a few more times. She deliberately turned her side profile, which looked prettier when crying, towards him, tears falling freely, while looking at the Law brothers with a sense of grievance. I have always been very clear that the three of you do not like me. It's just, I couldn't help but develop feelings for one of you. But don't worry, I will definitely restrain this feeling and won't cause you any trouble. After all, I know that your hearts only belong to Susan. As she spoke, she lowered her gaze, softly sobbing, which was truly heart-wrenching. Chapter 16. But Susan is really married now. So does she still have to choose between you? Who does she actually like more? It can't be that she wants both, right? As she said this, Angelica quickly glanced at the reactions of the four of them, then deliberately tapped her own mouth. I misspoke. I take it back. Susan must only have one person in her heart. She wouldn't be indecisive. Hearing her provocative words, Ethan didn't take them to heart at all. Now, he was the only one with a status. Not to mention, he and Susan had already had a heart-to-heart talk last night and were honest with each other. She had already completely let go in her heart law of her three brothers, and now she has no feelings for any of them. Ethan is confident in himself, but Law's three brothers fell silent. In fact, they were even somewhat warily watching each other. For so many years, they have been competing for Susan's affection, and to this day, there has been no outcome. Even they do not know who she actually likes more. Could it really be as Angelica said, that Susan wants them all? After thinking of this, Romeo, Kevin, and Gabriel all exchanged threatening glances at each other. Although they are triplets, they have spent their entire lives competing with each other since the moment they were born. Their essential personalities are all similarly strong-willed, and they simply cannot tolerate sharing with one another. Just thinking about it is hard to accept, let alone actually implementing it. Impossible, the three of them exclaimed in unison. At this moment, they felt nothing but disdain for this kind of tacit understanding they had with each other. Seeing their strong reactions, Angelica was taken aback, but she quickly regained her usual expression, treating it as if Susan was just testing the waters. However, just as she was about to continue sowing discord, Susan slowly made her way down the stairs. Hearing the noisy sounds outside, she sleepily rubbed her eyes. Is someone here? Susan followed Ethan's faint scent, pressing against his back, leaning on him, and putting all her weight on him. It was surprising that after only a few meetings, she never expected to be so in sync with someone. Seeing her familiar actions, Gabriel was almost driven mad with jealousy. Susan, you are not allowed to lean on him, he shouted sternly. In the past, when she was too sleepy to wake up but was forced to, she would lean on him like this. But now, she has done such things to another person. He can't accept it. Romeo and Kevin looked quite bad as well. Susan's strange walking posture just now, along with the dense kiss marks under her pajamas, nearly drove them crazy. In the past, she hesitated to make a choice, and they didn't dare to make any intimate moves towards her, fearing she would regret it. So they just endured it. But now, She has done everything with someone else. Jealousy nearly drove the three of them crazy. What's even more annoying is that the triplets' telepathy resonated at this moment. They could clearly feel each other's jealousy, and the triple jealousy nearly drowned them. However, at that moment Ethan naturally pulled Susan into his arms and even rubbed her waist. "Does it still hurt?" She buried her face in his neck, shook her head, and since she was still quite sleepy, it served as her response to him. Hearing this, the three of them were so furious that they nearly lost their minds. "Susan, divorce him and come back home with us. We can pretend this never happened." Romeo held Susan's hand tightly, almost pulling her over with that force. Chapter 17. Kevin struggled to smile gently, yet somehow his smile felt extremely dangerous. He also grasped her arm, and then Gabriel caught her. If it weren't for the fear of hurting her, they would have definitely pulled her into their embrace and taken her away. With 3 hands gripping her at the same time, Susan had no choice but to wake up. She opened her eyes and saw the 3 of them, instantly feeling a bit uneasy. "You all saw it, right? I really got married. I'm not joking with you, nor am I messing around. I won't go back with you. I've already gotten married. I have my own home, and you won't be in my home." Susan coldly refused and directly pushed the hands of the 3 away. "I won't choose any of you. Not a single one." This sentence echoed in the minds of the 3 brothers, reminding them over and over again, she doesn't want them anymore. Romeo looked at her, his eyes filled with deep confusion and disbelief. "Why?" He asked the question that Kevin and Gabriel had in their hearts. "Why didn't you choose? Didn't you like one of us before? Is liking something so easy to give up? But we have liked you for so many years." Upon hearing this, Susan could only smile in understanding. "Not choosing is because it's no longer important. We don't like you anymore. Isn't that clear enough? Stop saying you like me. Admit it. You just can't bear to let go. You all have other people in your lives now, and so do I. We will all be better off. Isn't that good, brothers?" After many years, hearing her call him brother again, they felt not a trace of joy. In their childhood, they used to compete and be jealous over the title of brother, because they all wanted to be the one and only in her eyes. In the end, Susan chose to give up the title of brother and simply called them by their names. Because names are different, everyone is unique, and there's no need to compete anymore. She has always been good at balancing things, and that remains true now. As long as no one wants anyone, and no one chooses anyone, they will still be the same. Such a cruel attitude has now left them in deep suffering. No, that's not it. We're not stubbornly holding on. We've said it many times. We truly like you, Kevin explained weakly, yet felt powerless. Susan was tired. They had caused a ruckus almost the entire night of their wedding, and before she had a chance to sleep much, she was faced with such a troubling matter. Not wanting to continue arguing with them, they have always been unreasonable, only insisting on their own thoughts. So there was no need to say much. She directly pushed them out, and with a bang, the door closed. In the next second, she felt her legs go weak and instinctively leaned into Ethan's embrace. The facade he had been forcing just moments ago fell to the ground in an instant. His strong arms lifted her effortlessly and placed her on the bed. Then he brought over the ointment to tend to her wounds. "You don't have to put on a brave face in front of me. If you're feeling uncomfortable, just say so. You can tell me about any grievances you have, and I will always stand by your side." His usually cold voice softened completely at this moment. Susan could hardly help but get lost in it. But she instinctively warned herself not to give in. "Forever?" she asked unconsciously. He gave an affirmative answer. Suddenly feeling such kindness, she hesitated for a moment. Chapter 18. This promise called forever. Susan had heard too much about it before. No one can guarantee forever. Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel all failed, and she did too. What she could do was to love earnestly while there were no barriers between them. Ethan perhaps knew her worries, as he simply held her hand and placed it over his heart. "Don't worry. Jean's family is very strict. By the time you realize I've changed my heart, I might have already been beaten to death by the elders of the Jean family. The Jean family despises fickle-minded people unless the other half behaves extremely out of line. They will never change their heart. His voice resonated through his chest, but the steady heartbeat was particularly clear, enough to prove that what he said was true. Susan was stunned, struggling to imagine that in this day and age, there could still be families with such strict upbringing. For a moment, she inexplicably thought of the hasty beginning of their marriage. She waited from night to dawn at the Civil Affairs Bureau, then from dawn until nearly sunset. The eagerly anticipated 22nd birthday ended in such a lonely manner. The thought of marriage, however, was just her act of defiance, but it was Ethan who stepped towards her first, draping his coat over her shoulders, a hint of barely noticeable tension showing on his usually calm face, though his voice remained indifferent. "I've been observing you for a while now, and I hope it's not too forward to ask. Are you in a hurry to get married? Would you consider me?" The chiseled face with sword-like eyebrows suddenly appeared in front of Susan, making a gray sky light up. She didn't know where the courage came from, but she nodded at him. "Yes, let's get married." In the end, she impulsively took Ethan's hand and walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau, just in time to get the marriage certificate before the staff finished work. That day felt like an ethereal dream. And even today, Susan still couldn't believe it was real. She asked in a daze, "Ethan, if that day wasn't me, would you still casually find someone to marry?" "No," he answered without a moment's hesitation, his eyes deeply hiding affection. "I told you that day. I've been watching you for a long time. I've been waiting for you to choose me to marry." Upon hearing this, Susan was completely stunned, momentarily forgetting what she wanted to say. Knock, knock, knock. It felt as if only their breaths and heartbeats remained in her ears. She could hear nothing else. Ethan was not in a hurry either. He gently and patiently gazed at her, not wanting to miss any of her reactions. After a long while, she finally found her voice. "But, you know, I had no choice but to choose you that day," she stammered, her voice a bit dry. "It doesn't matter. As long as you ultimately chose me, that's enough." Ethan held Susan tight in his arms, feeling her warmth and heartbeat. As long as she was by his side, that was enough. In the corners where she couldn't see, his eyes were filled with obsessive satisfaction. Fortunately, he still got her. Susan didn't believe in love at first sight, nor did she believe that Ethan would be the type to experience it. She persistently sought an answer. "Ethan, why would you wait for me to choose you? Love at first sight? I don't believe it." Ethan let out a sigh, slowly releasing her, carrying her into the study, and pressed a button that opened a hidden room. Inside hung many photos of Susan, most of which were candid shots taken unintentionally. It was as if they had coincidentally met at street corners, tree-lined paths, award stages, and various other places, capturing these moments with a quick snap. Chapter 19. For a moment, Susan was stunned. She never expected that besides the Law family, there could be a second place storing so many photos of her. Her gaze towards him was somewhat indescribable. When he realized her thoughts were starting to stray, he gently tapped her on the head. "Silly. A one-time love at first sight can't be considered anything. Jean's family has always been very cautious when choosing a partner. For the first love at first sight, I didn't even admit that I was moved. But after encountering you again and again, I finally admitted that I have feelings for you." As he said this, Ethan paused for a moment. The intense love in his eyes could no longer be concealed. Susan's gaze instinctively dodged. She licked her dry lips and asked dryly, "What happened after that?" After that, he recalled the countless coincidental encounters from the past, and his repeated attempts to get closer, all of which ended in vain. How many coincidences does it take to be together? I don't know, because you've always had 3 childhood friends by your side, and the way you care for them is impossible to hide. So I gave up on expressing my feelings to you. Fortunately, after the 99th encounter, I got off the car and extended a marriage invitation to you. As he spoke, Susan felt some fragmented memories in her mind gradually piecing together. She had seen so many outstanding and excellent people like Ethan that it was impossible for her not to have some impression of him. But every time she looked at him a little longer, her companions Romeo, Kevin, and Gabriel would fiercely block her gaze, making her see only the three of them. It turned out that, unbeknownst to her, there were also people secretly in love with her. Susan emotionally threw herself into Ethan's arms, holding him tightly. "Ethan, we will never be apart again, okay? We will never be apart again." Ethan's smile was impossible to suppress. However, it was completely different from the warmth over here. Law's house was terrifyingly quiet. Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel didn't know how long they had been sitting in Susan's room. The room was deathly silent. Looking at the room that was simple to the point of being plain, they suddenly realized how much they had neglected her during this time. The princess who was once spoiled by them had also fallen into the dirt because of them, but she struggled out on her own and no longer wanted them. They didn't even know how to make amends. They didn't understand what exactly they had done wrong. Haven't I explained many times already? They only feel gratitude and pity for Angelica. Nothing more. Why is Susan still jealous? The doorbell downstairs rang several times. Gabriel impatiently ran his fingers through his hair and went downstairs to open the door. "Ange? What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at the hospital taking care of Aunt Lou?" Although a bit impatient, he still stepped aside to let Angelica in. Angelica choked on the words at the tip of her tongue and finally said, "Mom is fine. I'm just worried about you. You were in such bad shape that day. Haven't you all had a proper rest for several days? I need to supervise you to eat well and sleep well. Only by taking care of your health can you have the energy to apologize and admit your mistakes to Susan." Saying this, she naturally stepped into the room and walked into the kitchen to start cooking. She grew up living with her mother, and naturally, she picked up some good cooking skills. But this time, her true purpose for coming here was not to cook. Chapter 20. Angelica was wearing a fitted white waistline shirt and a light purple pencil skirt, perfectly accentuating her figure. The meticulously styled hair naturally fell to the side of her face, becoming somewhat of a hindrance while chopping and cooking. Gabriel, without much thought, took off the hair tie he had always prepared for Susan, walked behind Angelica, and helped her tie up her hair. Noticing the person behind her, she turned around in surprise and said, "Thank you. Sorry to trouble you, Gabriel. Just wait a little longer. We'll be able to eat soon." As she spoke, she pretended to accidentally toss the meat, which was dripping with water, into the hot oil, causing a burst of sizzling oil droplets. "Be careful." Gabriel held Angelica in his arms, using his body to shield her from the oil droplets. At that moment, she pretended to be worried, quickly washing her hands and wetting a tissue to help wipe the oil off his face. "Is it hot?" she asked with concern. Gabriel wanted to pull away from her hand, but his eyes inadvertently caught sight of the wet patch on her chest. The white shirt, soaked with water, clung tightly to her skin, almost revealing the scenery beneath her skin and clothing. He quickly averted his gaze, but a strange sense of unease rose within him. "No need. I have nothing to do. You can continue cooking." Gabriel grabbed her hand, stopping her movement, and quickly left the kitchen. He couldn't cook, but he still had some doubts in his mind, so I stopped in my tracks, watching Angelica's graceful silhouette, and the unease in my heart became even more apparent. Would someone who is busy in the kitchen dress in a way that makes it inconvenient to move? In the past, when she helped in the kitchen, she would never dress like this. At that time, she was wearing the maid's uniform, with a plain face and her hair neatly tied up. But now, at the dining table, Gabriel deliberately sat as far away from Angelica as possible, not wanting to have any intimate contact with her. However, Romeo and Kevin were unaware, only feeling that he was a bit unusual. But they didn't think much of it. When it was time to rest at night, Angelica stayed in the house again under the pretense of taking care of them. Just as Gabriel was about to fall asleep, his door was suddenly knocked on. "What is it?" He spoke in the same tone as before, but Angelica did not suspect anything. She wrapped herself in a towel, her hair damp and dripping, shivering slightly. "Gabriel, the hot water in my room suddenly stopped. Can I borrow your room for a bit?" Knowing what she might do, he still let her in. He was curious to see just how far she could go. After Angelica entered the bathroom, Gabriel's expression instantly turned cold. After a moment of water sounds, She finally came out, not revealing what she had been doing inside. As the bathroom door opened, a strange fragrance wafted into his nose, and he instinctively tugged at his collar, feeling inexplicably hot. Just at that moment, Angelica was wearing nothing but a flimsy camisole that barely covered anything. Smiling innocently, "Gabriel, thank you. I'm done washing up." As she spoke, she walked over to Gabriel, feeling the heat surge beneath him. His expression changed instantly, with one hand gripping Angelica's wrist tightly and the other pressing on her shoulder. He applied enough force to leave several clear fingerprints. Ouch! The delicate cry suddenly turned sharp and piercing, and she cried tears of pain, just as she was about to plead with him to go easy on her. Gabriel mercilessly threw her out of the room. He gripped her neck tightly, his voice cold to the extreme, with a rebellious face full of cruelty. "Who gave you the guts to drug me? Trying to seduce me?" Chapter 21. I didn't. "Gabriel, you misunderstood me." Angelica kept hitting Gabriel's arm, trying to make him let go. Hearing the commotion, Romeo and Kevin also came out of the room. Seeing this scene, they instantly understood what had happened. Gabriel held Angelica and recounted the entire story of the dragon's fate. Romeo and Kevin looked at Angelica with suddenly cold eyes. At that moment, Romeo held down Gabriel's hand, signaling him to let go. Gabriel, although confused, still released his grip. "Romeo," Angelica was gasping for breath, tears of excitement welling up in her eyes, just about to express her gratitude. In the next second, Romeo kicked her, sending her flying far away. She felt like she was about to cough up her lungs, her fair little face filled with disbelief. At that moment, Kevin still wore a gentle smile on his face as he leaned down to lift her chin and softly asked, "Do you like us? Or do you prefer Gabriel? Why do you only flirt with him and not with me? Is it because I'm not charming enough?" The movie star, who has countless fans in the entertainment industry, asked this question with such distress at that moment. For a moment, Angelica's heart softened, unable to help but sink into the tenderness he displayed. No, you are very charming. I just can't have you. So I settled for second best. You have to believe me. I like you more." As soon as those words were spoken, the faces of the three men turned as dark as the bottom of a pot. Just a moment ago, Kevin, who had gently lifted her chin, instantly changed his expression, gripping her chin tightly as if he were about to crush her bones. "You like me? Settling for second best? In your heart, we three are probably just your possessions, right? If you hadn't been in such a hurry today, perhaps we would still be kept in the dark by you." Romeo directly stepped on one of her hands, his tone harsh. "Did you use this hand to light the aphrodisiac incense? The scent is strong, but what right do you have to pick and choose among us?" Angelica was in so much pain that tears kept rolling down her cheeks, filled with endless regret. She never expected that they would hate her so much that they wouldn't even want to touch her. Especially Gabriel. He even used incense, and clearly he had a reaction too. Why wouldn't he do something? Angelica was at the end of her rope. She could only once again bring up the life-saving grace. "Romeo, Kevin, Gabriel, I'm sorry. I was just momentarily confused. I liked you all so much that I did something so foolish. I won't do it again. After all, I risked my life to save you. Please let me off this time, okay?" She pleaded desperately. Kevin was somewhat moved and let go. Romeo was no longer as fierce as before. Only Gabriel still insisted as always. Seeing his two brothers once again standing by Angelica, he could only sneer. "Ha, she is just a woman with deep thoughts. How can you still believe her? How many times has she been saved? We have helped her so many times. Is that not enough to repay it?" The two remained silent, and Gabriel finally understood the feelings that Susan had back then. He forcibly suppressed his desires and rushed into the rain wearing nothing but pajamas, never to return. The cold rain washed over him, and his heart felt just as cold. Unknowingly, he found himself outside Susan's house. The villa was lit with warm lights, but he lacked the courage to knock on the door. After a whole night of rain, he truly experienced the pain and despair she felt when she braved the rain to search for her parents' belongings. Chapter 22. The next morning, just before the door was about to open, Gabriel instinctively hid in a nearby bush. Through the lush bushes, he saw Ethan holding an umbrella, protecting Susan in his arms. Not a drop of rain falling on her. The smile on her face was indescribably sweet as she nestled tightly in Ethan's arms, creating an atmosphere between them that no one could intrude upon. A sudden wave of inferiority washed over him, leaving him feeling inadequate. It wasn't until a long time after the two of them drove away that Gabriel finally emerged from the bushes. I don't know if the moisture at the corners of my eyes is tears or rain. The rain washed away the leaves on him, as if he had never been here. In the evening, Susan returned home, only to see a box of jade bracelets at the door. On top of the box was a sticky note, written in a flamboyant style. "I'm sorry. This is an apology. If I could do it all over again, I would take a picture of your parents' belongings for you. I wish you happiness in the future, and I won't disturb you again." Gabriel. Seeing this message, Susan was silent for a long time, but still accepted the box containing the jade bracelet. She then looked at Ethan and urged, "Why aren't you opening the door yet?" After the two entered, the door closed again. Gabriel in the bushes was already in tears. "Is this the only way I can apologize to you? But the first half of the sentence is the truth, and the second half is a lie. Susan, I can't let go. I can't truly wish you well. But if this makes you happy, I'm willing to do it," he murmured softly, his words dissipating in the wind, heard only by himself. After loving her for so many years, how could it be something so light that could be let go with just a few words? His love for her in the past was real, but the wrongs he committed and the pain he caused her were also real. He couldn't make her forgive him, so he could only seek a sense of peace in this humble way. In the end, even Gabriel himself didn't know how he left. When he got home, he packed his bags and prepared everything. But just as he was about to step out the door, he was stopped by Romeo. "Gabriel, where are you going?" Romeo furrowed his brow, asking in confusion. Gabriel responded calmly, "I'm going to the club. I plan to undergo closed training to prepare for the next competition. At my age, I no longer have an advantage in competitions. To win the next one, I need to train harder." Then, he picked up his suitcase and left, never looking back. Romeo was stunned, inexplicably feeling that the whole house had become much quieter. There were still words he hadn't had the chance to say to Gabriel before he got into the departing car. Looking at the evidence he had gathered, Romeo's expression instantly darkened, and an oppressive aura surrounded him. He stepped through the front door, and in the next moment, a fragile body pressed against him. Immediately, his expression subtly turned cold, and he discreetly avoided Angelica's hand. "Romeo." Gabriel suddenly had to leave. "I couldn't stop him. He wouldn't be in any trouble, would he?" Looking at her feigned worried expression, Romeo gazed deeply into her eyes, trying to see through to the innermost thoughts of her heart. At that moment, Kevin walked out from behind Romeo, his long fingers casually playing with his mobile phone. "Worried about Gabriel? Why don't you worry about yourself first?" "What?" Angelica struggled to suppress the panic in her heart, forcing out a strained smile as she asked nonchalantly. Chapter 23. Romeo threw a document at her face, his tone icy. "For these 2 car accidents, you better give me a reasonable explanation. Why was the same driver who hit us also the one who hit your mother? During the initial investigation, the driver suddenly went abroad and was unreachable. Why did he suddenly return to hit your mother? You two knew each other, right?" Just thinking about how long the 3 of them had been deceived, and how they still treated Angelica so well, he couldn't suppress the anger inside him any longer and tightly gripped her wrist. The sharp-edged paper slapped against her face, leaving several red marks. Almost instantly, Angelica was pitifully shedding tears, desperately shaking her head. "No, I didn't." "Romeo, what are you talking about? I don't understand." "Kevin, can you help me explain this, please?" As she spoke, she looked at Kevin with a pleading expression. "Did Romeo misunderstand me because he heard something from someone? My mother and I are just servants. How could we possibly do such a thing? Is it that Susan doesn't like me and said something to you all? That makes sense. After all, Susan misunderstanding me is normal, since she has never liked me. She spoke while also keeping an eye on the reactions of the two, but she didn't have the courage to look at the documents that had fallen to the ground. Kevin's usually gentle and smiling eyes were now as cold as ice, even carrying a hint of hatred when he looked at Angelica. Stop pretending. What right do you have to talk about Susan? Don't you and your mother know what you've done? You bribed the driver to crash into us. Yet in a moment of crisis, you risked your life to protect us. You had already calculated that you wouldn't be in danger, and we were truly foolish to believe your words without further investigation. But those pieces of evidence you can't erase. If you hadn't panicked this time, and your mother hadn't rushed to cause a car accident, we wouldn't have discovered your true colors so quickly. He tightly gripped Angelica's neck, speaking slowly, but his hands were exerting so much force that the veins were bulging. Angelica was suffocating to the point of rolling her eyes, struggling incessantly. Kevin was never truly a gentle person. He just appeared that way on the outside. He whispered in her ear, "Don't worry, Angelica. After all the bad things you've done, I won't let you off so easily. You have to experience all the grievances that Susan endured in the past." Only when Romeo found Angelica on the verge of collapse did he remind her, "Be careful. Don't play with her life." Upon hearing this, Kevin slowly released his grip, and the next moment, a basin of scalding hot soup was splashed onto her. Ah! As soon as Angelica regained her breath, she was burned to the point where her skin turned bright red, instantly curling up like a shrimp, rolling around in an attempt to relieve the pain with the coldness of the floor. "Is this little bit of pain too much for you? How did Susan endure it back then?" Romeo, his deep-set eyes narrowed slightly as he mentioned Susan, feeling nothing but heartache. She was spoiled by them since childhood. How much suffering did Angelica endure after coming to this family? Upon careful thought, it seems that everything was given by them. Guilt instantly swept over him. He only hated his past self for being unable to see people clearly. In order to repay a life-saving grace, he completely forgot to investigate further. Kevin, at this moment, had the same thought in his heart. After being an actor for so long, winning so many awards, and observing countless lives, he still stumbled hard in his own life. It was his overconfidence that allowed him to be deceived by Angelica's extremely clumsy tactics. Now that he is awake, he realizes just how foolish he was back then. Chapter 24. Thinking of this, Kevin's gaze towards Angelica became a bit harsher. Before she could recover, he directly grabbed her by the collar and dragged her along the edge of the artificial lake. As if she guessed what he was about to do, Angelica clung to his leg, pleading incessantly, "Kevin, I was wrong. I know I was wrong, but it's true that I saved your lives. And it's true that I like you. Please don't treat me this way, okay? It hurts so much. Just let me go this once, okay?" Upon hearing this, Kevin stopped in his tracks, disdainfully kicking her hand away, his voice as cold as ice. "Don't touch me, you're dirty." Angelica stared blankly at her hands, feeling a burning pain in her back, while the burn in front of her screamed in agony. She never expected that there would come a day when she would be treated with such disdain. The tenderness they once showed her was suddenly retracted in an instant. Why? She tilted her head back, looking at the tall man beside her, unable to resist asking this question. "Clearly, I had hidden it well before. Why did you all suddenly discover it?" "By the artificial lake," Kevin scoffed. "Hiding it well? Don't be so self-righteous. In the past, we simply chose to believe you and not dig deeper." Then, in the next second, he directly kicked Angelica into the lake, watching her flounder in the water. For some reason, he recalled that day when Susan had a look of despair in her eyes at the lake. That time, they first saved Angelica, only to abandon her. That look, he still remembers vividly. "Kevin! Romeo! Save me! I don't want to die!" Angelica kept calling for help, not knowing how many times